there's a publisher who used Harken as a tool to work with schools. So they put questions on their site around specific topics that had students ask the questions that they were most interested in around those topics. And then they worked with the teacher and did a contest. So the student who asked the winning question was able to then work with a journalist through the process of investigating the answers to the question they asked. And they used it as a school project. So it was really kind of interesting for engagement in a marketplace. So there you go. That's my 2 cents on Harken. Okay, I have more time. So hey, just while we're getting set up, folks in the room, how many folks here have a salesperson versus are doing sales themselves? Oh, I see hands of people who are like, yeah, I have a salesperson. And how many folks are still doing sales themselves? Of course, we're always doing sales ourselves, aren't we? Right? Yeah.
I think I saw people raise their hands both times there. So.
Yeah. Yeah, my parents would say I was always selling. I've been selling my whole life. So for sure. Well, we're going to talk a lot today about selling and some of the things that you can do to gain some efficiencies, particularly if you're wearing all of those hats. So that was a question that came forward from the group when we said, hey, what do we want to cover this year? What are the things that folks really are interested in learning? And so one of the burning things, which you'll see in the deck someday, was, how do you manage sales if it's just you? Or how do you manage sales if you don't really have a great background in selling? And how do you start a little bit more from scratch versus go hire a seller. So keep in mind, I always advocate for hire a seller if you can get one. I really believe that you need to have a diverse revenue strategy. You need to be looking at multiple options to do that. However, we are in this environment where, we're scrappy entrepreneurs, right? So we've got to generate some revenue. So we're going to look, we'll look at that a lot. Success. Yay to the tech people. The tech gods are on our side, maybe. Yes? But we're not going to tramp on this because that would be bad. Yeah? And I'm going to click the thingy. All right, let's do a practice round on the arrows, shall we? Oh. Good thing we did a test. Okay. So as I said, effective ad sales. Now, I know the thing that sits between you and lunch is me, right? So we'll go fast. Now, typically...
This better be good.
Right. Typically, what you all are thinking about when I present is this. Usually, it's that point of the day. So at least I'm not holding you back from a cocktail. So, all right. So I asked the folks here at Lion, your board of directors, for a wish list of things that you all wanted to cover or things that they thought you were interested in. So this presentation today for me is going to probably be a bit more bouncy than usual because I'm trying to get through this list. And I think throughout the sessions we've tried to accomplish that, or we've got a good handle on that. A couple of things we've moved to breakout sessions. So hiring salespeople, compensating salespeople, looking for avenues to recruit, managing, et cetera, and even sales partnerships or sharing salespeople with others we'll cover in one of the breakouts. Really digging deep into adding additional revenue streams and how to identify those revenue streams that can work best for you. A little bit deeper than what we'll cover today is in a breakout. And then, of course, selling specific products. I think we've got a revenue group this afternoon that will touch on some more of that. So I think we're going to effectively at least touch on the majority of your wish list, and then if there are open items, there are the unconference sessions as well. So, all right, so with all of that said, let's just buckle up because we have a lot to cover and you are waiting for lunch. So, let's talk about sales when you're doing it all. I think the biggest things that I can say about sales when you're doing it all is that the strategy for you has to be that you're really intentional. Has anyone ever heard be intentional from me before? It's kind of like a theme, right? But it's really true. So particularly, and this is not going to be some sort of magic lightning remedy for you. You've heard this, but it's true. I'm going to put this here. Can you guys still hear me okay? Yep. Okay, terrific. So the important factors around this, particularly for your sales efforts, are to plan and schedule and obviously prioritize, and we'll talk a bit about prioritization. I also find that many publishers have some great capabilities that exist within the talent pool within their operations that they often don't capitalize on or don't even know that they can charge a fee for. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Those things are really important. Doing things that are easy and building a foundation, if you're the person who's driving everything forward in your shop, is an incredibly important thing to be aware of and to be able to then monetize and capitalize. Again, we're going to talk about doing things that are easy first. Howard talked a lot about a number of the things that he's tried. Some of those things were pretty weighty in terms of personal tax and resource. I don't know that if Howard had to do it again, he would do those things. And so prioritizing and understanding what you have capability and resources to do and where you can win the fastest is really important to when you're the one who's wearing all the Post-it notes on your body and your notebooks and your computer and your mirror and God knows where else. Using tools for efficiency is also something that we'll touch on, as well as just how to promote you. And I'm going to plant the seed. I think we could have probably done an entire session on this, but from a show of hands, how many folks are using Facebook to promote content? How many folks are using Facebook and other social media to promote the business side of your business? Oh, that's better than I thought. That was like 5 hands. That's awesome. That's great. So this is like something that as journalists that typically get left behind and news organizations typically leave behind. So we're going to talk a little bit about promoting yourselves. And again, I think we could have done a whole session on that. But let's get to sales for a second. So look, if you don't have a plan around sales, you just have hope. And hope isn't a freaking strategy, right? I mean, it's not. You can't take hope to the bank. It's not going to get you any money. Anything that happens from hope is an accident. So it is, right? So, having a plan around this is so, I can't express it enough. It's so incredibly important. And so scheduling and planning is one of the biggest factors for folks who are juggling a lot of things. And if sales is not your skill set, or it's not the thing that you like to do the most, it's not the favorite thing that you do in your day, then you have to get it out of the way first. Schedule it first. The other thing is when whatever time you dedicate to doing sales, don't do anything else. Turn off your email, sequester yourself in a room, do it when you know your kids aren't going to call. I mean, just really give yourself, if you say I'm going to spend an hour and a half a day prospecting and trying to find business because that's what I have, then do that. And those email alerts just catch you off guard. And the next thing you know, it's 25 minutes later and you've been to 6 websites and you have a new pair of shoes, but you don't have any new business. Although that's me. That happens to me. Yeah. So, just focus that time. Don't answer email. Don't do other things. Just focus on your sales time. Schedule and plan it. So how many folks in the room have seen my sales rep schedule? Yeah. So I think I made several of you nauseous with that. So, so here's a potential schedule for a publisher or somebody who's in a seat who's doing multiple things. So the folks in the room who have seen my salesperson schedule, isn't this like a gimme? Because my salesperson schedule is, pretty heavy duty. But if you can try to, and I don't know that this schedule is one that will work for you, but certainly if you're trying to juggle all of these things, you need to schedule your time. You need to think about what's going to work for you, and you've got to allocate some sales time. So in this really is 8.5 hours of focused sales work a week. It's structured sales work. And that is taking time to plan prospecting, who you're going to call, what your work is going to be, preparing for those sales calls, and then following up on those open pieces at the end of the day. This looks like prospecting 3 days a week and doing sales calls 2 days a week, and then doing all of your other stuff at the same time. Now, if this doesn't work for you, do something else. The point to this is you need to dedicate some time to generating revenue. right? And if you're having some difficulty hiring a salesperson, or you're having some difficulty because your audience isn't large enough, or you're not generating enough money yet, you're not generating enough volume yet to actually hire someone and pay them and have them be able to eat or live, then you've got to juggle some things and find a way to start to develop that revenue yourself so you can get from point A to point B. You can't just will it to happen, right? I wish we could will it to happen. Wouldn't that be nice? Golly, I would love that. That would be awesome. All right. So any questions on this? Does this make sense? Nobody's crying from this, so I think this is good. The sales rep one made a couple of people, where's Ned? It made Ned weep a little bit, I think. He was like, oh my God, that was awful, Ellen, I'm not doing that. Yeah, well, if it's a sales call, and listen, if you have other things or you have kids, this is not a schedule that I would do, but, I must have been feeling kind when I did this or something. But, the point is you've got all these other things going on. So if you're trying to fit it in, fit it in. Yes. Yes.
So my question, if we're still talking about people that have all the sticky notes and wear all the hats, how would you translate that to, if I spent, 5 days a week following that schedule, I'd get no content done, I'd cover nothing, I'd be doing sales full time, right?
On this schedule, no. No, on this schedule, so all of your other business, this is 8.5 hours a week on sales. And then the rest of the time, however, and isn't it cute that I think that, like I indicated, that you end your day at 5 o'clock? Isn't that cute? As if that happens for any of us. So I thought that was quite amusing. I giggled at myself for that. So this is really 8.5 hours a week of dedicated, focused sales time if you're wearing multiple hats. If you're not wearing multiple hats and sales and business development is your thing, then, my formula is 10-3-2, and that's every day. So 10 cold calls, 3 sales calls, 2 follow-up calls every day of the week, along with all the other things that you've got to do. So that's a far more stringent and diligent schedule.
So on the business side, is that publishing content, writing content, doing reporting, that's what you do there with business?
Yeah, your other business stuff. Whatever that is, if you're not yeah. Okay, but it's a great question. Thank you for asking it. Yeah. So good? Yeah. Okay, super. All right, so let's talk a little bit about prioritization. Because prioritization, if you have a really lean operation, is very, very, very important. Even if you have a large operation, prioritization is really, really important. Everything that I do, whether I'm doing business for our consulting firm, whether I'm doing business with clients, or when I've run large teams and large operations, when I had a budget in the mega millions, I still prioritized, and everything falls into this chart or this segment. So I always try to look at the opportunities based on what is high opportunity and easy to do, because ding, 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 we're going to do that, right? If it's high opportunity and hard to do, we may decide to do it, but we've really got to look at what else is on the plate, what else is taxing us, what our resources look like, and what we've got going. If it's low opportunity and it's hard to do, we're going to flush that right into the little pool. We're never touching that. I'm never touching that. That's a complete waste of time. And if it's low opportunity, but it's easy to do, so it can generate some dollars, that can be worthwhile. And that's a decision that you have to make based on what your operation is. When I say things like low opportunity, easy to do, I'm typically talking about things that are more passive revenue income streams, things that are leveraging other pieces, things that you may turn off later when you have monumental success, but today getting $150 in the door, $150 is $150, right? So these are decisions as entrepreneurs that you are making. The first place that I think there's probably some sizable opportunity and a good place to look at prioritization is identifying your value capabilities. So I've done some work with publishers like yourself over the past few years, and I've done a lot of work with publishers of multiple sizes. As I started looking around the landscape, particularly with some business-to-business publishers, I started to notice that there are a great number of things that many publishers charge for or that they consider a value that we don't, or that you don't. Now, this isn't to say that when you read through this list this list of things is things that you offer or that you have skill set for. And I am certainly, and I will repeat this like 6 times, I am certainly not saying that you should go out and develop some of these competencies. Right? You're with me? I'm not saying you should go out and develop these competencies, but very often in your organization, with your past, with your past employment, your history, the folks who work in your shop, you have capabilities that you can leverage. You certainly have capabilities around content. You may have somebody in your shop who has anybody in the room ever like worked PR or written press releases? Okay, so a press release in the average market is somewhere between $250 and $1,000. And how many nonprofits call you on a regular basis and say they want you to do some sort of coverage for them? So and how long does it take to write a press release? Like 15 minutes? I don't know, because I sell stuff, right? So that's what I say, this is what I would sell to the person writing. What's it take? 15 minutes. But I mean, if it's your capability, why not package that into something that you promote to local nonprofits, even if you have to cut the average rate for what other folks are doing in the marketplace, and then combo that press release with a package to distribute and also a promo package on your site. So the point there is that everybody has in their organizations capabilities that they don't leverage and they don't monetize. And so stop that. If you have a skill and you offer it for free or you do it as a consultation or you do whatever, find a way to charge for it. So this deck and all of these slides and this list will be available also, FYI. So my first recommendation to you is really think about everything that you're capable of and everything that the people who you're working with are capable of and make an exhaustive list of that. Don't rule things out from the start and just say, I don't want to do that. You can do that later. But first, look at the things, because those things that you know how to do are easy to do. And if you can monetize easy to do things, great. That starts getting money in the door, right? The next thing that I recommend is for any local market, certainly, is to build a foundation with the things that are pretty easy to build. Now, my approach and my strategy around sales calls is very customer-centric, particularly when we are going after advertisers that we really want. But there are some groups of advertisers and there are some segments that happen in your community that you can cookie cutter. You can put together packages for. These things can enable you to get recurring revenue, to be on the schedule every year, and to have something that just easily goes into play. So the first one is all of your local festivals, your art walks, your downtown Fridays, your music in the park, your summer series, all of these things. Every market has some of these things. Every market has typically a plethora of these things. So if you start to knock these off and let folks know that you've got a great media plan for them that can include, potentially a great marketing package on your site, maybe it includes a native story, whatever sits well for you. And again, you put it into a package that's reasonable, easy for you to do. Make sure that they know about it. Once you get them the first year, you typically have them forever. And once you have them, it's easy to upsell them on new products that you have. So it makes a great foundation. So you heard some of the folks earlier mentioning Debbie and Barista.net in New Jersey. If you look at the advertising on their site and what they've done, their sales rep, Annette, has built an entire franchise around festivals, events, and culture and arts. It's what she likes to do. But all of those things for her now are pretty much just set. She puts out an email and says, I hope her boss isn't here because she'll be in trouble. Oh, that's all she does. But no, really, she does lots of other things too. But for these, she is able to 60, 180 days in advance say, hey, this is coming up. You're planning, your budget planning. Here's what we did last year. Here's what I'd like to do this year, or here's our package, or here's our approach. And those things are easily recurring. So that's a great opportunity. The other thing is local nonprofits. And so local nonprofits are always looking for somebody to help promote or advertise what they're doing. There was a point in my career where I honestly could have had a person who was just on the phone all day long answering calls from nonprofits who wanted us to run their ads for free or who wanted us to promote whatever event was going on, right? I mean, so they're plentiful. So at that point, if I have to have a human resource who's answering a phone or talking to people about this, there's going to be some money, right? Because, it's not a volunteer operation. So we put into place packages for nonprofits. They were incredibly value-based, right? So they were essentially like a third of the rate, or buy one, get 3 free. So essentially something that looked like that. They were incredibly value priced. However, we were able to package these up in a way that we just said, here's our nonprofit package. Here's our nonprofit rate. We sent those out to the nonprofits. The person who answered the phone now actually generated revenue, and we got money from a segment of people who weren't giving us anything. So even if it was a discounted rate, it was better than what we were getting before, and it recurred. So every time they had something that they needed to promote, every time there was something that was going on within the organization, they had our promo packages. Also, chambers and business associations, great places to just populate with business booster packages. So again, easy for you to do packages, things that can help them get their brand out or help them promote what's going on. And again, just a recurring stream that is easy for you to do, and it's a good foundation. And then lastly, once you have these lists developed, they're a great email database for specials that you're offering throughout the holidays to just boost revenues throughout those time periods. I've lost a slide. There, okay. So the next portion of prioritizing is those easy to do first things, right? So some of these are passive revenue options. So I think there are folks in the room who are probably doing Google AdWords, right? Maybe, maybe not. And we had the gentleman earlier who was talking about some of the opportunities that exist with AMP. And so passive ad revenue options are something that you have to decide whether or not it's something that works for you or it doesn't. So one of the questions that was posed to me is there a lever that we can just turn on that increases revenue $5,000 or $10,000 a year? And in some cases, these things can work if your traffic is high enough. Or they can at least contribute. So a couple of the things that I've seen working are native content networks. Anybody doing a native content network now? So it's this company, there are several that do this. This company, or this example, is a company called Outbrain. And Outbrain publishes content on your site, typically below your content. And every time one of your users clicks on one of these stories, you get a little bit of money. And they're typically native-like. And so some publishers have had really good success with this. The higher your page views, obviously the better the revenue. But again, if you're trying to get a few extra dollars in, if you're trying to get a few $100s in, it makes a difference. I turned this on a site where we had about 8 million page views. Or 8 million uniques and a lot of page views. And so it was significant for us, incredibly significant for us. So an option. And again, there are several companies that do this. Pretty easy to do, just a piece of code that goes on the page.
So that like kind of goes at the bottom of your stories?
Yep. And they actually have some different applications that you can use, but I think the most revenue success is from the bottom of the stories play. I also think it's probably the most user-friendly application as well, because if they're scrolling to the page and if they don't find any interest there or they hate it, they can move on. So another thing is Google surveys. And so anyone who has been to a Gannett newspaper site has experienced a Google survey. So Google surveys are the tactic that Gannett used to not do forced registration on their news content. So how this works is you go onto a page, you click a story, you get a pop-up of 2, maybe 3 questions that are a survey. You answer the survey questions, you move forward, and you're able to view the content on the site. Every time somebody completes a survey, you get a little bit of money. So easy passive revenue. The statistics on this show that users don't hate it. Certainly not like they hated like pop-up boxes from advertisers, right? But so they'll just do this. And again, it's just a couple of questions and it's quite easy and pretty easy to turn on. So the next thing is really looking at what you can prioritize that's easy to do, and is there high opportunity revenue opportunities. So we want to do the things that have the most revenue opportunity that are the least resource heavy. And as you're planning, there are a couple of folks in the room who've been through one of our 100-day plan approaches that we use at Coats to Coats, but essentially the 100-day plan is we're planning out business tactics. Instead of saying, hey, here's our plan for the year, we're planning out business tactics 100 days at a time. So as you prioritize, you can say, well, I can't manage this with resources that I have today, so I'm going to put it on the next 100-day plan and see if I can tackle it there. But your high opportunity, easy to do options are usually the ones that you can move forward with most quickly. Obviously, they're easy to do, and have really good revenue possibilities. So some of these things are there vendor solutions that you can do, and this is on the advertising side, are there vendor solutions that enable you to turn it on with no setup fees, with no necessity to build it, drive it, or do it yourself, right? So they just ease the process so you can just start selling and turn on some money from that effort. Or are they just great and they work within the structure that you have now, the structure of your website? They're easy to post, they're easy to do. You don't have to implement new technology. You don't have to buy new technology. You don't have to build new technology. And so one of the places that I see that I think there's some really good opportunity, I'm seeing publishers have really good opportunity with this, is leveraging the SMB Facebook factor. And anybody who's out selling local SMBs in their marketplaces has experienced I have it on I just post this on my business page, or I do really well from Facebook. Has anyone faced that, or is that just me? Yeah, so I found this company, and there's a couple of publishers who are using them and doing really well. So this company is called Friends to Follow. Anybody using them in the room? Yeah. So are you having success with them? Oh. Good. Yeah, so I have no religion on the product, and it's great if Kenny has it and you guys are already plugged in with them. The point there is that Friends to Follow, or the Broad Street version potentially, enables you to just go to advertisers who say, hey, I'm using Facebook and I'm doing really well with that, and you extend the reach of their Facebook posts. So their Facebook business posts appear on your site. This particular module has some really great flexibility on where it may appear, where it sits. You can do it at the bottom of the page. You can do it in the rail. There are many places that you can put it on the site. You can do it in content, however works best for you. But you can see the example on the right has it in the right rail. And so this is just a Facebook feed. It's a post feed. And if advertisers are paying a monthly amount, their Facebook posts appear there. And the one on I guess it's the far right, so right, left, the other right, is an application, and this one was a little bit lower in content, and they're doing this a bit more like a jukebox, but it's the same process. So depending upon the size of the publisher, I have seen these anywhere from $50 a month to $600 a month. And it's not something that you do just one time. They're a contract thing, right? You're not just going to turn this on for a month. You're going to say, hey, for 12 months, I'll make sure that your Facebook business posts are promoted through our audience, and that will help you get more traffic to your Facebook page and help you have more impact with your business. So it's an easy turn on, and my thought process on Facebook and SMBs is if they're already having success on Facebook and they're already there and you're trying to get them off of Facebook, that's just a futile effort. Right? You're battling it. And so you can either battle it or you can find a way to complement it and help them grow their business. So there you go. Another one that I've seen, this is an old vendor who's kind of new again, and they create video. So they're creating video ads, video sexy with advertisers now. Anybody finding that advertisers are saying video and they say it with like big eyes, video. Oh, we're doing video. Oh, we have video. Right? I mean, that's what I'm hearing that. Oh, there's video. So you can walk in the door and you have video. So this vendor takes advertiser photos. They'll take their photos. They'll take some of the things that are important to them in their value statements, their messaging. They'll combine it with some video. They do voiceovers. They create. They play really well on mobile. They do a landing page with a map, and so there are some really great benefits for SEO purposes from these. And from this vendor, there's a fee for the first month to get it produced, and then every additional month it's a very minimal minimal fee. So if you can get advertisers to say run these for 4 months or 6 months or keep them evergreen, it can be a really good option. And here's what it looks like. They'll even do them in Spanish. So this is a landing page, which I know is a terrible visual. This vendor is Digital Media somebody. I'm going to have to send that to you. DMC, I think, is what they go by if you like Google DMC video. But they create a video. They'll do it in English or Spanish. I don't know if they do other languages, but they may. They create a little content about the advertiser. They do a map page. They have applications that allow you to do these videos for holiday guides. They had some huge success last year with gift guides for holiday advertisers on the retail side. So an easier, sexy, and you don't have to do the lifting to get it done opportunity. And I will send out these videos, and send out these links. And I have no religion or no bias on any of these. I'm just looking for things that make money. So, my vendor and brand is completely agnostic. Okay, so native. How many folks in the room are doing native? Good for you. So I'm going to show you an example from the Voice of San Diego. This is one of the best executed native approaches I've seen. This approach, the first year for them, generated somewhere in the neighborhood of $120,000 to $140,000. Pretty easy to turn on. Second year revenues were higher. They're still doing it and having really good success. They do wonderful things. So this application is called Partner Voices. Voice of San Diego is a non-for-profit. And so they found a way to just serve the nonprofits in the marketplace by helping them tell their story. So on the front page of their site, they've got just a tag that's on the nav that says Partner Voices, and there's a drop down that explains what it is. And then in this application, they're doing stories for nonprofits who participate. So they're creating the story. In some cases, they may create the story in-house. In other places, they're freelancing the content or the story out. The deal is the story changes on a monthly basis, and they typically sign an agreement. A corporate sponsor can pay for the content for them, and so they've had that happen quite a lot, which is really great. And depending upon where you are and what your capabilities on fees are, you can look at that. I've seen these. I think they're running somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 a month. It may be higher now, but I think Knight did a study. They did a study on native, and they had a lot of native pricing values from publishers on there. The nonprofits get the story, and then on the page, they get the full story, so there's a link to it. There's sort of like a jukebox that takes you there, and then they link to it, and then there's a Twitter feed that their Twitter feed or their sponsor's Twitter feed shows up. So if a corporate sponsor helps pay for the nonprofit to get their stories there, the sponsor gets their Twitter feed and some information about their business as well for supporting it. So if you go back and you think about the nonprofits in your marketplace who are calling you to cover their stories, who are asking you or are trying to get their voice out, who want stories, this is a great way for them to do that. The objection rate on this is really low. The adoption rate is pretty darn high. So it's a great application. And recurring revenue, monthly revenue, just goes on, and corporate sponsors get to associate themselves with something that feels good. Any questions on that? Groovy. So there are a whole plethora of other things that I think are probably high opportunity and revenue and easy to do, but we'll talk about those in the product sessions. I think the breakout this afternoon and tomorrow, and I think we'll talk about some more things around native this afternoon in the session as well. So one of the other questions that you all had, a burning question, was about selling specific categories of business. And so my philosophy on sales is specific categories of business aren't necessarily different. It's the work that you do to learn about those specific categories of business that makes the difference. So sales becomes far easier if you sell smart. And we know that sales statistics indicate that a whole lot of people just don't have the fortitude to continue going after the business. They just don't keep showing up. So when you look at the number of people who go back and make sales calls, 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. And only 10% of people actually go back and make those. So a better strategy around sales and better research can help you shorten that life cycle a great deal. Now, if there was a perfect sales process and a perfect way to do sales, and I could coin that, it would be so great. There would be so much money in that, right? I mean, wouldn't that be awesome? But there's not. I mean, as long as there are people involved, it's not a perfect process. So you really do have to just try to work incredibly smart and learn as much as you can about the business so that you can talk to it with some authority and some knowledge, and that you can effectively learn how to market their businesses. So to shorten that sales cycle and make better sales calls, the thing that, regardless of whether you're calling on a car dealer, you're calling on a home builder, you're calling on a carpet cleaner, or a carpet store, the biggest factor is really taking the time to learn about their business, learn about the business that you're calling on, and then understand that industry so that you can speak to it with some knowledge, because people want to do business with people who know their business. And, there was an old sales call strategy of, hey, I'd like to spend a few minutes with you and learn about your business. And business owners today are like, look, if you want to do business with me, you should know about my business. I don't have time to teach you my business, right? So you need to gain an understanding of what that business is doing. And business owners are more likely to engage with you if you ask them questions that are significant and specific to the business. So this is religion for me, this piece. This is my mantra. When you're trying to make sales calls, you need to develop relevant questions around that business. Going in and just introducing yourself and telling them how great you are is not going to get you the business. You have to help them understand how you can help them improve their business. And you have to drop their guard, because you and everybody else under the sun is calling on them. And when you walk in the door, your credibility, or their guard is here, right? So and they have become really good at fending you off. And your credibility with them is here. You have no value. So you have to find a way to bring that value up and to get them to drop that guard a bit so that you can have an actual conversation with them. So the best way to do that is to really ask yourself some questions about the business before you call on them. Again, doesn't matter if it's a car dealer or a home builder or who it is. What do they sell? Who do they sell to? And what's important to those customers? Because at the end of the day, what they care about is marketing to their potential customers, right? So if you can answer these questions, you can start to develop some great questions to at least approach them with and get the door open. And this is not a difficult thing to do, because you can just ask Google how to choose. What do I need to know? So I've had sales reps who say, this takes too much time and I can't do this research and this pre-call planning. This takes too much. And so I no longer speak. We just go into the car and we pull up in front of a plaza and then we get out our devices. And I say, how to choose a sewing machine. So we can go call on the sewing center, or how to choose a carpet cleaner, or whatever is in the plaza. Because the reality is this only takes a few minutes. It's just a few minutes to do a little bit of research so you can ask some questions that make you sound like you have some knowledge of the business. So take those questions, develop them specifically for that advertiser. And that helps to increase your credibility, and it also helps reduce that advertiser's guard a great deal. And they'll answer you if you ask them something about their business, not what's your anniversary or what do your customers care about or who's your target audience. But, hey, you guys will giggle. I use this line all the time. Hey, I see that you are offering Zoom teeth whitening. Is that something that you offer to all patients, or just can new patients get that, or is that something that you only offer to existing patients? So whoever I'm talking to, after I've introduced myself, they're going to answer that question. They're not going to just look at me like I'm crazy. They're going to say, no, of course, anybody can. Well, they may look at me like I'm a little crazy, but they're going to answer the question, right? So the significant questions help you start reducing the guard and help you start learning about the business. The other thing that they can do is they can help you have really good success in email. Now, the best sales call approach with any target category is always in person. I advocate always in person, always, 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 if you can. However, with today's environment, that's not always possible. So I wanted to share an email with you that I got from a really great seller, because I get giddy when great sellers contact me. And if anybody's in Boston, you should reach out to this girl. because she is on it. So she sent me this email, and you can see what it is. So we didn't have any prior communication, but you can see she researched me a little bit. I noticed on LinkedIn that you are responsible for marketing stuff. And then I also looked at your website, and I saw these are the things that you guys are working on at your company. And then in speaking with other folks who do things just like you do, their clients are asking them for things like this. And so we found that this strategy works. Are you thinking about utilizing this strategy? Do you think she got a response from me? Like, you can just follow the anatomy of this email, because this is just, I mean, it's really, really good, and it's not that difficult to do. So when I talked with her, so first I was interested in what she had to sell, but secondly, I was delighted that somebody sent me an email. I got an email from somebody else who said, I noticed on I found that I looked at your website and I found that your customers are on LinkedIn. And so I responded back and said, that's great. How'd you find that out? And she still hasn't responded to me. But like, you know, so that was a bad email. It was well-intended, but a bad email. So this approach will get you a response. When I talked with this seller on the phone, because I like it when other people actually like verify what I preach, she said that her response rate on her emails is like in the 90%. So, which is phenomenal, right? So really, really good. Now, of course, she's got to move from there and take the next steps to get the sale. But the first step is making the connection, because from here we did a call. And so now we had a relationship, right? As soon as she could start talking with me, as soon as you can talk with a customer, you can start building a relationship. So if you ask specific business questions, it'll help you progress to a needs analysis, right? It helps you progress to the interview. And then you understand their business needs. And from that, you can effectively understand how to market their business. And if you effectively know how to market their business, you can create a solution to help them reach their potential customers through the products that are in your portfolio. So at this juncture, it doesn't matter whether you only have web-based products, if you have mobile, if you have video, if you have any of these sexy things that are out there, or whatever you're pitching, you can find a way to market their business to answer those solutions through what you have to offer. So how do you spell special products kind of goes to the wayside if you develop good sales skills. So the next thing I want to say is use tools and technology to help you. So we're all really busy, whether you've got a salesperson or you've got a couple of folks, or whether it's just you and your shop. Use technology to help you learn about your customers, communicate more effectively, create efficiencies, etc. So one of the cool things that I think you will all want to download, and this is free, is Charlie app. Anybody in the room have Charlie app? So it's called Charlie app. You can download it in the App Store, and I think it's available on Android too. So Charlie app is scary, fabulous, cool, and frightening all at the same time. So Charlie app integrates with your calendar. So anybody that you have an email address with that you have that's plugged into your calendar for an appointment, Charlie app sends you like a dossier about them before you meet with them. It is scary. It tells you what's going on with their company, what's going on with them on social media, what they're posting about, what they care about, the things that you have in common with them. So if you're like trying to make some of that like soft talk, you can get a little bit of that. So the first time I used it, I was like, oh my God, this is so scary cool. But it really is scary cool. And it's free. So you do have to learn about their business, but any insight that you can get to help you connect with people a little bit more easily is also helpful, right? So I love Charlie app. The second thing, and then this is a follow-up email from my friend Jillian. See, here's her contact address. So anybody in Boston, you should reach out to her because she's a killer seller. I keep telling folks, is there anybody in the room? Somebody should recruit her. So this is a follow-up email from her, and I loved what they were doing here, and I think this is really smart. Jillian Riches? I know, right? Maybe she'll move. Yep. Mm-hmm. So she sent me an email and followed up. And then, of course, we had this appointment. So she sent me a couple of video links to just say, hey, take a look at this before we chat. So I love the idea of doing this. And I think this is so incredibly helpful for folks who are doing multiple things, trying to leverage video. So it helps you warm up the sales call. It helps to set the stage for some things. If you look at some of the other industries that are out there that are growing, that adopt new tech or do new things more quickly. For example, I watch real estate. Obviously, obviously I watch entrepreneurs, but I also watch automotive. In real estate, there is a lot of this activity going on. So you can create the video, use the video messaging, and then use it over and over and over again. And today, it's not like video has to have great production values. It can be short, succinct, and to the point, but consumers love video. Video plays on YouTube are almost expected now. Photo posts aren't getting nearly the amount of action that they used to, and flat text posts like get nothing. So this is an example of, I love this. This is the Sky, what is she? I think she's the skydiving realtor in, where is she? I don't know where she, anyway, I think she's in Washington, Tacoma maybe, the skydiving realtor. So anyway, she and a friend and a partner who's also in real estate create these great videos. They're short, easy videos, but if they have a first-time buyer, they send these out with the first-time buyer to get a link, or if they're, for whatever the situation. So you want to invest in property, you want to flip, etc. So for all of you, so if you're interested in learning more about our product, one video helps you do that. If you want to see success stories from folks who have worked with us, or see what our advertisers say, that's a quick and easy thing to quote and do and send in advance. And what kind of difference does that make when you have an appointment with somebody that you're selling and you say, hey, here's a couple of videos I wanted to share with you what some of our customers say. And then they're talking about your fabulousness, right? It just helps to warm the call. You create these things, you can continue to reuse them. Okay, so then this is another tactic that I love. And this is video email messaging. Anybody in the room using video email messaging? So there are a couple of companies who will do this, and they'll actually create a frame with your brand around it. Let me tell you why I love this. Because you can finish an appointment with an advertiser, you can get in your car, and you can drive back to the office, you can stop at Starbucks to get a cup of coffee. While you're in line at Starbucks, you can pick up your smartphone, and you can send them a quick video note that says, hey, I just left our meeting. I was really excited to meet you. I'm so delighted that we can work together. I think we really have some great solutions to help you build your business. I'm excited to meet with you again on Tuesday. So you'll hear more from me, but thanks again for taking the time. And then you get your coffee. And it sends and it's done. And you followed up with that advertiser. It's awesome. So it's a great tool to create efficiency. And you know what? They open it, really. Video emails get this kind of open and conversion rate. So, they work. I don't know that they'll work forever, but they're sexy now. And sexy now is okay with me. If it works and people will open it and it helps me gain traction, that's great. So the other thing that I want to say, use text messaging when it's appropriate for connecting with advertisers, particularly advertisers that you're having a difficult time connecting with. So I use this very strategically, but it works. So it just takes it to a different level. I also take it if folks call or they send an email from a cell phone and then I leave them messages and they don't call back. I text them, hey, it's Eleanor from Coats to Coats. You inquired about this. Can we jump on the horn, or can I give you more information, or whatever it is. But I use it if I have an advertiser that I have a difficult time getting in touch with. So and this is an actual text, and you guys know this is my line for getting back in touch with advertisers, right? So I say, hey there, I was thinking about your business. I had a couple of ideas I wanted to run by you, right? Are you around? Can we get together at 3:30? And this response was, yeah, that can work, but I only have 30 minutes. Well, that's fine, because that's all I need. 30 minutes, we'll be done. But this was a chase that happened in terms of, hey, can we get together? I'd like to schedule an appointment. We need to do a follow-up. Some of those things that kind of lingered. So text helped that. If you overuse this, it will stop helping. But if you use it very intentionally, it will help you a great deal. And then the other thing is, if this great line for advertisers, whether you know them or you don't, hey, I was thinking about your business last night. I have a couple of ideas. Do you think if you tell an advertiser, hey, I was thinking about your business, I've got a couple of ideas, they want to hear what they are? They do. So advertisers that it's really hard to get back into, we all have advertisers that we sold really early on, and then we're like, oh God, I should have done things so much differently with them. I've kind of ruined them. Anybody else but me have those? Because I've had them, right? I, at one point in my career, said, I need to go work in a different area because I've ruined all of these people. So this was a really easy way to get back in. Hey, I was thinking about your business. I had a couple of ideas. So that's a great line. Use it. Okay, I'm circling the airport now. Lastly, I want to talk very quickly about being a shameless promoter on your brand. And I want to ask you how you're using your testimonials. So, I think in this business, we look at testimonials and we look at testimonials like there has to be a photo and we have to make a big dang deal about it. And we don't. Is Bob Conrad in the room? So Bob said to me this morning, blah, 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 Eleanor, hey, we did this and this was a great experience, and I'm not going to do the whole quote. And I said to Bob, hey, can I use that? And Bob said, yes. You can bet that what he said to me is coming somewhere with quotes. Right? Like testimonials don't have to be this big, hairy deal, but they are what customers are saying about you. And so use them smartly. If somebody says great, just say, hey, can I quote you on that? Sure, you don't have to do this big, old-fashioned, monumental, testimonial story. People just want, you're trying to build a reputation of helping people have success and doing good work, right? So that people will take you more seriously, or that they'll gain some affinity, or you're helping to drop their guard. So use these darn things. Thread them through your website in open ad space. Our customers say this. Thread them through. If you're doing native applications, do some native about how you help businesses grow. For God's sakes, promote yourself. That's easy to do no matter how many or how few people are in your shop. Secondly, use video to promote you. Easy to do. Use your testimonials. Offer some of these free services that you identify. Like, couldn't you do a Facebook post that said, we help local businesses grow and we can help you? We'll give you a complimentary 30-minute digital business consultation. Don't you do that anyway? Don't we call that a needs analysis? Right? I mean, so why not try to just generate some things and use some of the quotes of what people are saying about you? So just promote the heck out of yourself. Okay, so that was 42 slides and maybe 40 minutes. Okay.
Thank you. We're running very, very long, so I think we will hold the questions. And lunch is coming up very soon, so there's plenty of time to keep on talking. Right before lunch, we're going to have a couple of quick words from another one of our esteemed sponsors, Kenny from Broad Street.
All right, I'll keep this quick. By show of hands, how many people are absolutely starving right now? Yeah, exactly. So I'm not looking forward to standing in between you and lunch. So like I said, I'm going to keep it. If I can get it below 5 minutes, I definitely will. Can I use the browser here? Can I use the browser here? Do it very quickly. I actually just thought I might do this now. Do you have Chrome? Not chess. I can play chess. That'll take some time.
If it's chess, we'll go get lunch.
Yeah. Spell that right. I'm going to pull up something I think is going to be pretty appropriate here. Oh, yeah. All right. I did want to put this up because it is very relevant. And like I said, I'm going to keep it quick. Broad Street, if you've heard about it so far, it's an ad platform, but there's one thing that you should know about Broad Street. It's all about being different. It's all about being able to sell something different. And we build all of our publishers' ideas, we build some of our best ideas into what we call Broad Street Express, which is our ad platform. There are a few different features which I'll run through very quick. Broad Street, how many people use Broad Street in this room, actually? Okay, so we have a good show of hands. How many people are on something else like Google DFP or got a couple? And then how many people aren't using an ad server at all? Okay, so for those of you who aren't on Broad Street, there's a good chance that when you're going to sell an ad, you're selling something standard like a 300 by 250 banner ad or a 728 by 90 or something that's very standard. And what we realized over the past, and I sort of alluded to this yesterday, that we've learned a lot about our publishers. We've learned that what really works for our publishers is being entirely different than everyone else that sets up an appointment with their potential advertiser. So you have Patch, you have Google, you have all these different companies approaching your advertiser, and what they're ultimately selling is the same product, 300 by 250 banner ads. And if you're doing that, all you can really do is differentiate on your audience. You can say, we're the cool publisher in town, and you're sponsoring us, and you're making all these pitches, but ultimately the product that you're actually selling, the actual banner ad isn't doing much for their brand. In fact, that banner ad is going to do the exact same on Google or Facebook, et cetera. So at Broad Street, we said, okay, what can we do for there's three specific things that we try to help our publishers do. One, impress your advertiser, all right? So when you set up that appointment with your advertiser, you want to be able to walk in there and show them something that no one else has shown them. All right, and if you're lucky enough to get the deal, it's hard enough to actually sell ads as it is. If you get the deal with something like this is the most outrageous example of our ad formats, which I'll get to in a second. If you get the deal, you want them to perform. Ads like this, very eye-catching. The cube click-through rate is something like 2%. It's insane. And then once it performs, you want to produce a report that tells them all about the performance of their ads, something that their advertiser hasn't seen before. So just to run through very quickly the features while you're looking at this delicious cube. The ad format library on Broad Street Express, we have 50 ad formats. Like I said, this is the most extreme example of our ad formats, but we have a lot of different formats that your advertisers will really like. And I'm gonna open one more. It's the Facebook. Instant Facebook ad, which I think, whoops, wrong one. So this is something that you could take to an advertiser. All of our ad formats take about 2 minutes to set up. We have a library of 50 of them. This is an ad format that pulls in the latest from a advertiser's Facebook page. And you can see that we pull in comments from the Facebook page. You have some social proof built in there. We want you to be able to walk into an appointment with an ad like this set up that takes about 2 minutes. We have a video on how to do it, and show them something without sending something to a designer, without just showing them your website and saying that you should buy an ad with us. We want you to be able to place something like this on your site and pitch them right there. We are very effective with newsletter advertising. Newsletter is obviously very important for some of our publishers. We have analytics, so when someone clicks on an ad like this, we can tell you, and this is one of those features that actually came from one of our publishers, Scott, and I think I saw Scott in the room, brought back at Arlington now, he said, this is like 2 years ago, he said, Kenny, if someone clicks, I want to know exactly where those clicks came from. Because if you're using Google DFP or anyone else, someone clicks on an ad, you go to them with a click number, and it doesn't really mean anything. Kind of indicates performance, but what if you could say 90% of your clicks came right from the town that we serve? What if you could show them, for example, on Red Bank Green in Red Bank, New Jersey, 90% of the clicks came from Red Bank, Fairhaven, Little Silver, all the surrounding areas. We give you the postal code, the ISP, and humanize that click-through number, all right? So now not only is your advertiser getting a great brand experience, but they also know that it's performing, and it's performing with the people that they were actually targeting. So display advertising, there's a lot of criticism of it. A lot of people say it's dead. I think that if you give your advertiser something that doesn't suck, it's not dead. And on top of that, ad blockers, the ad blockalypse, we heard about that. We have some customers who use Broad Street Express's ad blocker invisibility, all right? So ad blockers do not detect Broad Street ads. Ad blockers are not very sophisticated, all right? It's easy to work around how they work, and we'll always stay ahead of how they work, so we'll make sure that your ads are always appearing, and the question of ad blockers isn't ever really something that comes up in an ad sales meeting. Or if it comes up, obviously you're gonna stand out from everyone else. We have a few other features that I'm not going to go into because I want to save you time here and get you to lunch. But I think Dave at Walsh Creative might have mentioned a little bit earlier. One thing that we're going to put out during the conference is an ability to set up alternate ad units. So on mobile, everyone knows the problem where your ads show up in the sidebar, and on mobile they go all the way to the bottom of the page. We're going to set it up so they become interspersed with your content. All right, and this is only possible recently because we've rewritten the way our ad code works, so we can make that work exactly the way you guys want to do it. So we're gonna find a customer who wants that, implement it. We'll have something to show you at the end of the conference. We're gonna make that work. Broad Street Express, if you're interested in it, the deal for the conference is we have a conference rate, $165 a month. If you are referred by an existing Express customer, you get an additional $25 off a month for the entire contract, and the Express customer that referred you will also get $25 a month off their contract.
So Broad Street's great.
And tell you what, we're going to end on that note. Stop by our table. Sign up. We have an iPad raffle. Sign up for the iPad raffle. Get a Broad Street Express demo, Walsh Creative Valuation. Walsh Creative, by the way, one of my favorite developers to work with. Took me a long time to find a good.
Remember to collect your stamps.
All right. What did I go? Did I go 5 minutes or I go over? Sometimes I get caught up in it, so. All right. Thank you.
Thanks. And let's eat, everybody, and keep the conversation rolling. Thank you.